the standard, I would sit in my office and write these fancy procedures. Then I would take them out to the guys in the shop, and they would basically, I can't swear too hard on this program, but they would tell me to go somewhere. Let's put it like that, and put my procedures where the sun doesn't shine, right? Because what do I know? I haven't even consulted them, right? So I learned that lesson hard and early. So what I would do, this is the best I could do at that time. I'd go out and I'd write the standards with the guys. What do you do now? Tell me what you do. I'll write all that down. I'll come into my office and I'll see how do I make it comply to the standard in this case. Then come back out to the guys and go, is this okay? So, yeah, at a very basic level, I learned back then that if the guys doing the job don't feel some ownership, forget it. They're literally utter wallpaper.
That's a very, very relatable situation, Tom, because I think a lot of business owners listening will have tried to build an SOP at some point or many points, and they spent a weekend, they locked themselves in the office, they strapped themselves to the computer and wrote up some very detailed multi-page standard operating procedure for how to do some core process in their business. And then on Monday, they come back to the office all excited like a kid doing show and tell, and they show the team, and guess what? No one gives a shit and doesn't get followed whatsoever because they didn't have any involvement in 100%. The build. So, and I think there's two things here. Number one is there's like, hey, you haven't earned the right to tell us how to do our job. That's like one part of it. They need to feel involved with the build. The second thing is I actually suspect there's fairly major blind spots that the owner may have. This is why, and we're going to get into this, why the process needs to be bottom up, not top down. You in a leadership position or in an ownership position, I would make the case that you actually don't know as much as you think you know about the core, how the core processes happen in your business. And as a result, you're not as qualified as you think you are to write these SOPs. And that's why this needs to be a grassroots sort of, you guys help build this ground up versus I'm going to tell you top down and these are the handcuffs I'm going to latch to you and this is how you have to do things. It just doesn't really work that way. And so I think your example of that in the automotive industry, your example of like you kind of getting, laughed off the site by the crew, I think is a very relatable moment we've all had.
So I had that one at 21 years old. So we've solved that problem by accident with Gembadocs, by the way. So, because the app is so easy to use, the mobile app, especially for physical processes, literally anybody can use it. And what we find with our best customer implementation, some of our customers have over 500 SOPs and they're not huge companies.
Wow.
It's organic bottom up. The management isn't telling people to do an SOP. The guys that doing the work, we need an SOP for that. Like we have a saying that we try to encourage our customers to know. The first time you do a task should be the hardest time you do a task. So when we at Lumen, when our guys are doing a job, they're thinking, well, am I going to have to do this same thing in 3 months' time? And am I going to have to do all the mental effort to work out how to do it next time? And whenever you can get your people to know that, they do their own SOPs because they're useful tools. Not handcuffs. And that would be the third thing I would say there, that they're not sold properly. They're like, honestly, what I've seen with my own eyes, we need SOPs because if he leaves, we're effed.
Right. That's not a compelling sales pitch.
So we need to get what's in his head out. Yeah, but that's the truth of it. So that if people know that that's your primary motivation, we shouldn't be too shocked that they're not very keen to buy into the whole deal. So we need to be doing it from a good place where the SOPs are perceived as sold as tools and perceived as tools.
I think that's a really interesting take we've just stumbled upon, because what you hear with SOPs, this is the classic business adage. It's probably been floating around for decades. It's the old, well, what if I or what if he or what if she gets hit by a bus bit? And you hear that so often, which is like, and I've always been like, that's so morbid. How many people get hit by buses? Like, why is this thing used so liberally? Like, Do you have to have, like, is there like bus drivers that are drinking on the job that I don't know about? Like, this just seems like such a widespread problem. But you know what I mean? And what you're saying is, like, that is not really that persuasive of an angle, because it's essentially saying, hey, if this person gets removed from the business by death or by firing or by quitting, then we need to fill the hole.
Yes.
And what you're saying is, like, forget about the exits.
Exactly.
Just think about the actual work that needs to be done
Yeah.
for the people that are in the business and planning on being in the business for a while yet. SOPs make their life easier, more efficient. They can earn more money. They can develop more as leaders. They can make a more cohesive team. And so the pitch, when you say you're selling it wrong, what you mean is you're selling the idea of SOP implementation incorrectly to your team by saying, well, if so-and-so got hit by a bus, we'd be screwed. It's like, that is not a motivating thing at all. And I just think that's a really important sort of correction you've made on this whole perspective that the space seems to have on this. Oh, don't want to get hit by a bus. It's like, come on.
Well, it's the intention behind it, because people know what you're really saying when you describe the bus hitting incident.
Right. Yeah.
They know downrightly what they mean is that if you leave or we fire you or you do get ill.
Right.
But yeah, so they know that. And so I'm a huge believer in just candor. Tell people what we actually want. And if it's with a good intention, 9 times out of 10, people want to know. And if it's not, people won't. So back to the selling factor in real life again with using this kind of thing. So we have a customer, because people look at SOPs and often think manufacturing. One of our biggest and best implementations is an e-commerce company. No physical process, really. So their social media person I have a video of it somewhere, where she's raving about being able to go on vacation. I can go on vacation and somebody else can take over my roles, and I know that I'm not going to be coming back to a huge mountain of undone work, because there's a clear standard and I can give it to my colleague, and the most important things can still happen while I'm away. So, simple stuff like that. And in terms of helping people, especially if you're the senior people, well, do you really want the kid coming and hassling you about how do I mix the fuel for the chainsaw? No. Is that adding value to anybody? Does anybody want that? So create a standard. It takes literally 5 minutes. Create a standard and that'll never happen again. So making life easy is the key thing. And when you make life easy, value flow.
Right. And then the thing spools up. The whole thing spools up and you have buy-in from the team, and actually they're quite motivated and excited to help you build these standards, rather than moaning and groaning that you're making them do extra work. And so I just think that's a really important sort of paradigm shifting conversation we've just had about going about finding the standard the right way. You, the owner, it's not your job to know absolutely everything in your business. That would be impossible. Utilize the people, the roles that you have right now, get them excited, make it easy for them to build standards with you. Let's move on. 100%. The second thing that you think is really important is these things need to be easy to access. And so I'll just maybe set this up. Here's another really common pain point that entrepreneurs in this space in particular would have felt. I built an SOP, and maybe people were like excited about it on day one, but sooner or later it ended up in a binder on the shelf, under the passenger seat in the van or the truck. And while there might be some good stuff in there, it's not getting used. It's not getting read. This is a static and dying document rather than something that is having life breathed into it every day. So break down your philosophy on making SOPs easy to access.
The first one I touched on earlier is put the answer where the question is. So if I have to go running around trying to find where's that process, and in manufacturing the typical example is it's in a folder in a cupboard somewhere and nobody really knows where it is, and it's a monument that was built once and nobody looks at it again. So we get over that with Gemba Docs with a few different methods. So you can print the thing off the traditional way, and lots of our customers do that. The second thing is we have an option where you can print the SOP as a QR code only. And you can put that anywhere. You can put that on a machine. You can put that on we have people that make catalogs, like the conservatory people have a few pages of QR codes instead of having like 100 pages of SOPs. And that means you can put the question or the answer at the point of use. So back to our chainsaw example again, where wherever the fuel is, you could print the whole thing off, or you can just put the QR code.
Scan it, and then it comes up on your phone.
Yeah, anybody. You don't need an app or anything. You just scan the QR code. And the beauty with that as well, the way we've designed Gemba Docs, that QR code is always the latest version. So you never have to bother about going and printing it out again and laminating or plastic sheets or whatever. So people get to trust the QR code because it's always always the latest version.
Listen, if you like that clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here. If you're not yet subscribed, you probably should be, and you can do that by clicking right here.